My boyfriend brought home a stray cat. He claimed he was way too busy at work and asked me to look after it. But the moment he left, I heard the cat mutter under its breath, "Ugh, who are you calling a stray? You cheap, cheating scumbag." Then it turned its head toward me. Its voice was filled with pure frustration. "I'm a purebred Maine Coon. I cost $80,000, honey. I was supposed to be a romantic gift from your boyfriend to your best friend, but those two realized I'm way too high maintenance. You were too lazy to feed me, so they dumped me on you. And you're actually standing there smiling?" I took a picture of the scruffy-looking cat and searched it online. To my shock, it really was an incredibly rare, expensive breed. Seeing my dumbfounded expression, the cat continued its sassy rant. "See, I told you you're clueless. You're even about to give up that prestigious clinical fellowship to your bestie. You think doing that will save you from a long-distance relationship? Let me tell you, he's already got his transfer approved. He's moving to the branch office over there soon. They've already picked out a loft to move in together. First truly heard that when she gets back from the fellowship, her career will skyrocket. That vacant chief of medicine position is being kept warm just for her." I immediately opened my laptop, wrote my application overnight, and sent it to the chief's inbox right before the deadline. In our Snapchat group chat, Maya sent a voice note, her voice sickeningly sweet and babyish. "Chloe, what am I going to do when I move to Chicago? I'm going to miss you so much." Ethan immediately followed up with a text, speaking as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "We should pitch in and help Maya rent a nice apartment. It's not safe for a girl to live alone in a new city." I didn't reply. They just kept chatting away. "Without me then. You're not Chloe's husband yet. Don't you dare touch my bestie's money even if it's for me. Oh, stop pretending. Who was the one crying on FaceTime last time because some creep followed her after a night shift? Let's get you a safe place so you don't cry again. And who was the one who used chasing away a creep as an excuse to drink half my bottle of Cabernet, pass out on my couch, and force me to drag him back?" I quietly closed the app. Maya was my college roommate for 4 years. She came from a poor background, so I constantly helped her out financially. Her favorite catchphrase was always, "What would I do without you?" And Ethan was my childhood sweetheart of over 10 years. The only reason they even knew each other was because of me. My phone suddenly buzzed. It was a notification saying my car allocation had been approved. I had been eyeing that dream car for over 6 months. Finally, I could buy it. As I was planning the payment, the cat's voice drifted over lazily in my head. "Why waste money on a depreciating car? Buy real estate. It's way better." I froze. "Property in the city. I don't even have enough for a down payment." The cat rolled its eyes, its tail swishing imperiously. "Who said anything about buying luxury condos? Buy the piggies. Yours truly has connections in the feline world." A fat orange cat from the city planning commissioner's house. "That area is about to be acquired for a massive Disneyland expansion. $800,000 will turn into 10 million. Do you get it, dummy?" I stared at the "Congratulations, you're approved" notification for 5 seconds, then resolutely canceled my car reservation. Ethan's call came through a second later. He demanded, "Why did you cancel the car reservation?" I realized that since he knew more about cars, I had used his phone number for the reservation updates. Then his tone shifted effortlessly. "Actually, since Maya is moving to a new city, commuting will be tough for her. Why don't we use that money to buy her a car instead?" Wow, they really were leeching off of me and me alone. How did I never notice this before? Looking back, when Ethan and Maya first met, they acted like enemies, both complaining that the other was stealing my attention. But at some point, their dynamic shifted. Ethan started buying duplicates of everything for Maya. He even invited her to our holiday dinners, Valentine's Day dates, and anniversaries under the guise of loving me so much that he loved my friends, too. Back then, I thought he was incredibly sweet and considerate. Now I realize I was just the shield. On the phone, Ethan was still rambling, making plans for my money. "Out of that $300,000 you saved, give Maya $100,000 for her rent, and use the other $200,000 to buy her a decent car. That should be plenty." I casually replied, "Sure, go ahead and look at apartments and cars for her. I need to take a shower. Talk to you later." Ethan clearly didn't expect me to agree so easily. His voice filled with pure joy. "Chloe, you are so understanding. You're the best." In the past, when he praised me for being understanding and Maya chimed in with, "Thank you, bestie," it warmed my heart. Now looking back, that wasn't gratitude. It was them gloating over how easy I was to exploit. My stomach turned and I felt physically sick. I hung up, opened my laptop, finished the fellowship application, double-checked everything, and hit submit exactly 1 second before the midnight deadline. Woo. As the submission successful notification popped up, I took a deep breath. "Wanna use my spot to get a promotion and a raise? Wanna use my money to move in together and play house in your dreams?" The next morning, I took the subway to the hospital. When I pushed open the office door, Maya was already sitting inside. There was a breakfast spread on her desk, a gourmet sandwich, and an iced latte. She was sipping it with a lazy, content smile. Seeing me walk in, she put down her cup and waved her breakfast box at me with a smirk. "My secret admirer sent this over first thing in the morning. He even remembers all my dietary restrictions." As she spoke, she intentionally brushed her hair back, revealing a fresh, dark hickey right above her collarbone. Her voice dripped with braggy sweetness. "Chloe, do you think I should finally say yes to him?" I put down my bag and replied flatly, "Well, you have to take the horse out of the stable to see if it actually runs." Her smile stiffened for a fraction of a second, but she quickly recovered her cute persona, though a trace of smugness lingered in her eyes. "Don't worry, I'll definitely introduce him to you eventually." Before I could reply, the hospital WhatsApp group buzzed with a notification. "The fellowship candidates have entered the final evaluation stage. Results will be announced within 2 days." Maya glanced at her phone, and the corners of her mouth practically reached her ears. She slid over and grabbed my arm, her tone incredibly light. "Chloe, out of everyone, you and I have the best shot. Since you're not competing with me, I practically have this in the bag. Nathan said he wants to celebrate early tonight. Are you coming?" I pulled my arm back and said coldly, "I'm busy. I have outpatient clinic duty today." She blinked, sensing my sudden coldness. "Why are you acting so weird today?" I walked to the door and threw a glance over my shoulder. "It's time for your rounds." With that, I walked out, not bothering to look at her face. The morning sun beamed through the hallway windows, casting a bright light on my white coat. I quickened my pace toward the clinic. At the end of my shift, Ethan was waiting for me. He leaned against my office door frame, putting on his usual peacemaker attitude. "Chloe, don't be a party pooper. Even though Maya is leaving for the fellowship, she's going to be all alone there. As her friends, we should celebrate for her and talk about pitching in for her rent." I closed the medical chart in my hands and looked up at him. "The list isn't even out yet. Are you guys popping champagne already?" Ethan choked on his words. Before he could speak, I took a step forward, catching Maya completely off guard. I ripped open her shirt collar. The dark red hickey on her collarbone was instantly exposed under the bright fluorescent light. "Since Maya has such a passionate admirer who brings her breakfast and leaves hickeys every day, I don't think she needs you running around worrying about her rent," I said calmly. looking back and forth between their pale faces. If you have that much free time, Ethan, maybe worry about your own business. Maya's face went completely white. She scrambled to pull her collar back together. Ethan's expression froze and a brief flash of guilt crossed his eyes. I didn't waste another second on them. I turned and walked straight out of the office. Leaving the hospital, I took an Uber straight to the outskirts of the city. I had passed by this area before but never paid attention to it. Now that I was here, it looked even more desolate than I imagined. Abandoned warehouses stood tilted, their rusty metal roofs full of holes. Broken bricks and wild weeds covered the ground, showing faint traces of an old abandoned livestock farm. A few collapsed animal pens still barely held up their wooden structures, and the air smelled faintly sour. According to the real estate agent, the previous owner wanted to make a fortune raising livestock, but a massive disease outbreak wiped out his inventory, leaving him bankrupt. This land had been a hot potato on the market for 2 years. I knew exactly what I was doing. I didn't just throw in the $300,000 I saved for the car. I scraped together every penny of my personal savings, and even borrowed $400,000 from my parents. With a total of $800,000, I bought this entire desolate farm lot. The moment I signed the contract, the agent handed me the keys, giving me a look that suggested he thought I was the biggest idiot on earth. I took them. They felt heavy in my hand, but for the first time in my life, I felt completely secure. When I got home, I locked the contract safely in the deepest drawer of my desk. I opened my phone and saw that Maya had just posted on Instagram. Her grid showed a lavish Italian dinner, wagyu steaks, lobsters and beautifully plated desserts. Ethan sat opposite her, showing only half of his side profile. Her caption was pathetic. Is this how friendship ends? We just drift apart so heartbroken. Underneath, Ethan had already left a comment. It's okay. I'll always be by your side. As if that weren't enough, he quickly added another comment. Chloe was out of line today. I apologize on her behalf. Their little back and forth made me want to gag. I was about to close the app when the Maine Coon, who was busy devouring premium wet food, suddenly let out a lazy thought. Short on cash. Are we? Did you forget the designer solid gold jewelry set you lent to Maya? I slapped my forehead. How could I have forgotten about that? Back when we first started working, Maya complained that she was worried her colleagues would look down on her, so she wanted some high-end accessories to boost her confidence, urging me to lend her my solid gold bracelet, necklace, and earrings for a while. He promised he would buy me a brand new set later. I hadn't thought much of it at the time, so I handed them over. But Ethan's promises, like all his other lies, were always deferred to next time. Meanwhile, Maya wore them everywhere without shame, eventually stopped mentioning them altogether, and even secretly bragged to others that they were a gift from a rich admirer. Gold prices had skyrocketed recently. That set weighed over 50 grams. At today's market value, it was worth a fortune. Since I had lent it to her without a formal agreement, getting it back wouldn't be easy. But I wasn't the pushover I used to be. Whatever belongs to me, they're going to spit it back out. I took an Uber to Maya's rented apartment. The hallway was dead quiet. Just as I reached the door, I heard their hushed voices coming through the thin wooden panel. Ethan, do you think Chloe noticed something? The way she acted today was really off. We've been together for 2 years, and she never suspected a thing. She's incredibly gullible. She's probably at home right now feeding my cat for us. The two let out a low chuckle. Maya's voice turned sweet and smug. So do you think she'll really lend me that $300,000? I'm dying to move into that loft with you. Of course she will. She always does what I say. I feel so much better now. So how are you going to thank me? Just with words. Then came the rustling of clothes, followed by muffled, breathless giggles that made my stomach turn. I sneered and banged on the door with all my might. Bang, bang, bang. The loud noise echoed through the empty hallway, triggering the motion sensor lights on the entire floor. Who the hell is that? Ethan's voice rasped, clearly annoyed at being interrupted. Me, Chloe, I shouted. Instantly, a chaotic scramble erupted inside. Chairs knocked over, followed by panicked, hurried footsteps. A moment later, the door swung open. Ethan stood there, his shirt buttons completely mismatched and there were fresh hickeys on his neck. Ethan stood there, his shirt buttons completely mismatched, fresh hickeys scattered across his neck. For 3 seconds nobody moved. Then Maya appeared behind him. Her hair was disheveled, her face pale, and the moment she saw me standing in the hallway, every trace of sweetness vanished. Chloe, I smiled. Surprised, Ethan immediately stepped outside and pulled the door shut behind him. Chloe, listen. This isn't what you think. I looked at his crooked shirt, then at his neck, then back at his face. Really? I pulled out my phone, because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like what I think. His face darkened. You followed us? No. I raised an eyebrow. You were just stupid enough to get caught. Maya rushed forward. Chloe, please. Nothing happened. I laughed. Nothing happened? I pointed at Ethan's neck. Then what is that? A mosquito with lipstick. Maya instinctively covered her neck. That tiny movement told me everything. I stepped closer. I came here for something that belongs to me. Ethan immediately looked confused. What? My jewelry. Maya's expression changed. Jewelry. The solid gold set I lent you. Her lips parted. Chloe, I thought you gave it to me. I lent it to you. You never asked for it back. I am asking now. Ethan stepped between us. Chloe, you're being ridiculous. Maya has been wearing that jewelry for years. Everyone knows it's hers. I stared at him. Everyone. He nodded confidently. Yes. Perfect. I pulled out my phone. I'll call the police and let them explain the difference between borrowing and stealing. Maya's face drained of color. Wait. I smiled. There it is. Her voice trembled. I don't have it here. Then where is it? Silence. I tilted my head. Maya. She swallowed. I sold some of it. My smile disappeared. You did what? I needed money. You needed money? I laughed once. You've been planning to take $300,000 from me, buy yourself a car, move into a luxury loft with my boyfriend, and you sold my jewelry because you needed money? Ethan's face turned red. Stop making everything about money. I slowly looked at him. Funny. I opened my banking app. Because you seem to make everything about my money. His expression froze. I continued. The $300,000 is gone. Maya's eyes widened. What? The $100,000 rent money you were expecting? Gone. Her face turned white. The $200,000 car? Gone. Ethan stared at me. What did you do? I smiled. I invested it. His expression changed. Where? I leaned closer. Somewhere neither of you will ever benefit from. The Maine Coon suddenly appeared behind me, casually licking one paw. Then I heard his voice inside my head. Excellent. And Chloe? I nearly laughed. The cat's tail flicked. Check your email. I pulled out my phone. There it was. Subject. Fellowship selection. Final decision. My heart stopped. I opened it. Congratulations, Dr. Chloe Bennett. I stared at the screen. Maya had been celebrating for nothing. The fellowship was mine. And suddenly everything clicked. The fellowship. The land. The jewelry. The savings. The boyfriend. The best friend. They had spent years treating my life like a resource they could divide between themselves. But they had made one fatal mistake. They thought I would remain the same Chloe forever. I looked up. Ethan was still staring at me. Chloe. I slipped my phone back into my pocket. Don't worry. His eyes softened slightly. Finally, you're being reasonable. I smiled. I'm being reasonable for the last time. His smile disappeared. I turned toward Maya. And you? She looked terrified. You have 72 hours to return every piece of my jewelry you still possess. And if I can't, then I'll file a police report. She immediately grabbed Ethan's arm. Ethan. He pulled away. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. I smiled. That's right. I stepped backward. You're on your own now. I turned around and walked down the hallway. Behind me, Maya screamed my name. But I didn't stop. Outside, the night air felt completely different. My phone buzzed again. It was another message from the hospital. The chief of medicine has requested an urgent meeting regarding your application. I stopped walking. The cat's smug voice echoed in my head. Congratulations, dummy. I smiled. Looks like your $800,000 gamble is about to pay off. The cat purred. Not just $800,000. I frowned. What do you mean? Its tail flicked. Remember the land I told you about? Yes. The Disneyland expansion isn't the only thing happening. I froze. What else? The cat's voice became unusually serious. Your boyfriend's new branch office? My stomach dropped. What about it? The development project surrounding it? I waited. The cat grinned. It's being built on land adjacent to yours. I stared into the darkness. So genius. The cat stretched lazily. Your boyfriend is about to become your tenant. I burst out laughing. For the first time since discovering the betrayal, I felt genuinely happy, and they hadn't even realized it. Not yet. The next morning, I arrived at the hospital before sunrise. I had barely stepped into the lobby when the chief of medicine's assistant approached me. Dr. Chloe, he's waiting for you. I nodded and followed her upstairs. The chief looked over my application, then looked directly at me. Your fellowship record is excellent, but I noticed something interesting. What? You've been listed as Maya's primary research partner for the past 3 years. I smiled. That's correct. He frowned slightly, but your published work shows that you handled nearly all of the data analysis, patient recruitment, and manuscript preparation. I said nothing. He leaned back. Why did you give her so much credit? I almost laughed, because I had spent years believing friendship meant helping someone climb. I hadn't realized she was using my shoulders as a ladder. I made a mistake, I said. The chief nodded. Then make sure you don't repeat it. He slid a folder toward me. Congratulations, Dr. Bennett. You've been selected for the fellowship. I stared at the document. Then he added the words that nearly made me choke. And after your fellowship, we'd like you to interview for the chief of medicine position. I smiled. Thank you. When I walked out of the office, my phone immediately buzzed. Maya, Chloe, we need to talk. Another message followed. Maya, you can't seriously be angry about what happened. Then, Maya, Ethan says you misunderstood everything. I stared at the screen. The cat's voice floated through my mind. She's lying. I know. Then why are you still reading? I smiled. Because watching them panic is entertaining. The cat purred approvingly. Finally, you're learning. I put my phone away. Then Ethan appeared at the end of the hallway. He looked exhausted. His shirt was wrinkled, his eyes were bloodshot, and the confidence he had worn yesterday was gone. Chloe. I kept walking. He caught up with me. Please. Just 5 minutes. No, I'm begging you. I stopped. That word sounded strange coming from him. Begging. Yes. He swallowed. Maya and I made a mistake. I raised an eyebrow. A mistake. He nodded. We crossed the line. You crossed the line about 2 years ago. His face went pale. I continued. You just thought I was too stupid to notice. He reached for my hand. I pulled it away. Don't touch me. He froze. I love you. I laughed. No, Ethan. I looked him straight in the eyes. You loved what I provided. His jaw tightened. You supported Maya. You paid her bills. You gave her jewelry. You planned her future. You even wanted to give her money for a house. I stepped closer. And somehow, you convinced yourself that because I was generous, everything I owned belonged to you too. He had nothing to say. My phone buzzed. I glanced down. A message from my bank. Investment transfer completed. I smiled. Ethan noticed. What did you do? Something you'll understand later. What does that mean? It means the woman you thought would finance your future is no longer interested in participating. His face twisted. Chloe, don't do this. I already did. I walked away. That afternoon, I received another call. It was from the real estate agent who sold me the abandoned farm. Dr. Bennett, I wanted to congratulate you. Why? You made an excellent purchase. I laughed. You didn't seem to think so when I signed. He chuckled. That was before the city released the preliminary development map. My smile faded. What map? The expansion zone. I sat upright. It's official? Not publicly yet. My heart started pounding. Then why are you calling me? Because several developers have already started contacting surrounding landowners. How many? 7. And what are they offering? There was a pause. Your $800,000 property is already being valued at approximately $4.7 million. I nearly dropped my phone. The cat slowly lifted its head from the sofa. I looked at it. It blinked. Don't look at me, it said lazily. I told you. I burst out laughing. But then the agent continued. And there's something else. What? The company handling the new medical district has already submitted a preliminary purchase proposal. I froze. Who owns the company? The agent hesitated. Ethan's employer. Silence. I slowly put the phone down. The cat's eyes widened. Oh, I stared at the ceiling. What's wrong? The cat's tail began swishing. Your boyfriend is going to hate this. Why? Because the company needs access through your land. I smiled. For the first time, I understood. They hadn't just betrayed the wrong woman. They had betrayed their future landlord. And the funniest part? They still had no idea. That evening, Ethan called again. I answered. His voice was unusually gentle. Chloe, I have something important to tell you. Go ahead. My company is transferring me to Chicago. I know. Silence. How? You told me. Oh, he cleared his throat. Maya's going too. I know. We found a loft. Congratulations. And his voice became hesitant. We're getting married. I smiled. Congratulations. He sounded stunned. That's it. What did you expect? I thought you'd be angry. I laughed softly. Why would I be angry? You're not upset? No. There was another silence. Then he asked nervously. Chloe, are you seeing someone else? I looked at the cat. It was staring at me with an expression that practically screamed, this idiot. I smiled. No. Then why aren't you upset? I leaned back in my chair. Because Ethan. I paused. I'm not losing anything. He didn't understand. He wouldn't. Not until the day his company came knocking on my door. And by then, I'd be the one holding the keys. 3 days later, the hospital announced my fellowship publicly. Dr. Chloe Bennett had been selected. Maya saw the announcement and immediately called me. You knew? Yes. You didn't tell me? You didn't ask. Her voice turned sharp. But you knew I was counting on that position. I laughed. You were counting on my position? Silence. Then she snapped. After everything I've done for you, I hung up. The next morning, Ethan's company made an announcement. Their Chicago expansion project had officially been approved, and the company needed to purchase several surrounding properties, including mine. Ethan called me that night. Chloe, something's wrong. What happened? My company is trying to acquire land around the new medical district. Oh, they're offering millions. How wonderful. His voice suddenly became excited. Actually, one of the parcels is perfect for the project. The owner bought it recently for around $800,000. I smiled. Really? Yes. If they accept the offer, they'll make a fortune. How much? About $5 million. I leaned back. That's a good deal. Exactly. We need to find the owner immediately. I smiled. You already did. What? I own it. Silence. Absolute silence. Then Ethan whispered. Chloe, yes, you bought that land? With my money. His breathing became heavier. But why? I canceled the car. You used the money from the car? Plus my savings. Plus a loan from my parents. He went completely silent. Then his voice cracked. Would you sell it to the company? Maybe. His tone immediately became desperate. Chloe, please. This could make my career. I smiled. That's unfortunate. What? I don't sell property to people who cheat me. He froze. You knew. I knew everything. The next morning, Maya showed up at my hospital office. She threw a jewelry box onto my desk. I returned everything. I opened it. Several pieces were missing. I looked up. Where's the bracelet? I lost it. The necklace. I sold it. The earrings. She swallowed. I don't know. I calmly picked up my phone. Then we'll file the police report. Her face went white. Chloe, please. No. She grabbed my arm. Please. I can pay you back. With what? She started crying. I don't have anything. I pulled my arm away. You had my friendship. You had my trust. You had years of financial support. And you still decided to steal from me. She stared at me. Then I delivered the final blow. Your fellowship application? Her crying stopped. I withdrew my recommendation. Her face collapsed. You can't. I can. You'll ruin my career. I smiled. No. You ruined your own career. Then I walked away. That afternoon, Ethan's company sent me an official purchase offer. $5 million. I rejected it. They raised it to $7 million. Rejected. $9 million. Rejected. Finally, the CEO personally requested a meeting. I walked into the conference room. Ethan was sitting there. So was Maya. Neither of them expected to see me. The CEO stood. Dr. Bennett, this is the property owner we've been trying to reach. Ethan's face went completely white. I smiled. Nice to meet you. The CEO looked between us. You two know each other? I sat down. Unfortunately. Maya started crying. Ethan looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him. The CEO cleared his throat. We're prepared to offer $10 million. I folded my hands. No. Everyone stared at me. Then what do you want? I smiled. I don't want to sell. Ethan finally snapped. Chloe, stop this. I turned toward him. Stop what? You know how important this is. Yes. You're destroying my career. I smiled. No. I leaned back. I'm protecting my property. The CEO looked uncomfortable. Is there another arrangement? Yes. I slid a document across the table. You can lease the land. For how long? 30 years. And the price? I smiled. $20 million upfront. Ethan nearly choked. That's insane. I looked at him. You're right. I stood. So you should probably start looking for another piece of land. I walked out. Behind me, Ethan shouted my name. I didn't turn around. Outside, my Maine Coon was waiting in the carrier. The moment I got into the car, his voice echoed in my head. Well, I smiled. 20 million. The cat's tail flicked proudly. Not bad, dummy. I laughed. For years, Ethan and Maya had treated me like their personal bank account. Now they had finally learned the difference between having access to someone's money and actually owning it. And I wasn't finished. Because the next thing I planned to take back wasn't my jewelry. It was my name. Every research paper Maya had claimed. Every promotion she had received because of my work. Every award she had accepted while standing on my achievements. I opened my laptop. One folder after another appeared on the screen. Proof. I smiled. Let's see how long the golden girl survives. When everyone finally finds out she was never golden at all. By the end of the week, everything collapsed. I submitted the evidence to the hospital board. Every research paper Maya had stolen credit for. Every project I completed while she took the applause. Every email proving she'd submitted my work under her name. The board launched an investigation immediately. Maya was suspended before lunch. By evening, her fellowship offer was revoked. Then the hospital announced that I had been appointed interim chief of medicine. Maya called me screaming. You ruined my life. I calmly replied. No. I stopped protecting the lie. Then I hung up. But Ethan's nightmare was only beginning. His company desperately needed my property for the Chicago expansion. I refused every offer. The project stalled. Millions were lost. Investors pulled out. And Ethan was fired for misrepresenting the project's land acquisition progress. When he came begging to my apartment, I didn't even open the door. Chloe, please. I looked through the security camera. He was crying. I lost everything. I smiled. You still have Maya. He froze. Then Maya appeared behind him. They immediately started arguing. You said she'd give us the land. You said she was stupid. You promised me everything. You used her too. I watched them tear each other apart through the camera. Then I shut it off. The cat looked at me. Feel better? I smiled. Much. 3 months later, the city finalized the expansion plan. My property value skyrocketed. The land I bought for $800,000 was now worth more than $12 million. I didn't sell. I leased part of it to the medical district. The remaining property became my private investment headquarters. Meanwhile, Maya was drowning in debt. She had no fellowship, no hospital position, and no wealthy boyfriend. Ethan had no job and no Chicago transfer. Their dream loft disappeared. So did the wedding. One afternoon, I received an invitation. Not to their wedding, to their bankruptcy hearing. I laughed so hard the cat nearly fell off the couch. At the hearing, Ethan tried to blame Maya. Maya blamed Ethan. Then the judge asked about the money they had spent expecting Chloe's financial support. Both of them went silent. The judge looked at them. You planned your finances around someone else's assets? Neither answered. I sat in the back row, watching, not crying, not angry, just satisfied. Afterward, Ethan approached me one final time. Chloe. I looked at him. He lowered his head. I really did love you. I smiled. Maybe. He looked up hopefully. But you loved what I could give you more. His face crumpled. I walked past him. The cat's voice echoed in my head. Should we feel sorry for him? I smiled. No, good. I glanced back once. Ethan and Maya were standing together in the courthouse hallway, surrounded by lawyers and unpaid bills. The two people who once planned a future with my money couldn't even afford the future they planned together. I walked outside into the sunlight. My fellowship was waiting. My promotion was waiting. My investments were growing. And my future belonged entirely to me. The cat stretched lazily beside me. So Chloe, what's next? I smiled. Make money. The cat purred. Now that's my girl.